Warning: the material discussed in this show may be sensitive or a trigger for some listeners. Strong language and topics are discussed. We talk with active duty service members and practice OPSEC at all times. You have been warned.
Oh, yeah. Life just got sweeter now that WLFE DB has merchandise. Show your support by purchasing your t-shirts for WLFE, Paratalk Radio, Inside the Drag Closet, and more. But it doesn't stop there. T-shirts, coffee mugs, tanks, buttons, cloth bags, and more. Go to WLFE-DB.com. On the top bar, click on the merchandise tab and bam, there you go. You got merch. Support the shows. WLFE-DB.com. The Bipolar DM, Jason Cottam. His show talks about Dungeons and Dragons, indie writing, and living with a mental illness, in particular bipolar disorder, borderline disorder, and major depression, among other diagnoses. Check us out right here on Saturdays, 7 p.m. Eastern, also on WLFE-DB.com, and wherever else you listen to podcasts. So take a seat, sit back, and get ready for the Bipolar DM.
Welcome to the Bipolar DM broadcast. I am your host, Jason. This is a show about Dungeons and Dragons, indie writing, and living with a mental illness, in particular bipolar disorder, borderline personality disorder, and major depression, among other diagnoses. If you want to get a hold of us, you can reach us by email at thebipolardm@gmail.com. Also visit my webpage, www.thebipolardm.com. There you can find previous episodes of my podcast, as well as links to the live show. And it's more up to date than my webpage, just because it's a little bit easier platform for me to work from my phone, from my tablet. And so if you want to go to Facebook, to our Facebook page, it is at Bipolar DM. Like I was just saying, it's a little bit easier platform for us to work from than the webpage. And we keep up to date with articles, videos, and other items that pertain to Dungeons and Dragons and Dungeons and Dragons, indie writing, and living with a mental illness. If for those of you who are fans of the show and like to support us, we do have a Patreon account. If you consider joining our Patreon page, it is patreon.com/bipolardm. And we have goodies available at each tier of support. So, which is buttons, t-shirts, and stickers, just depending on what level of support that you are doing. But be sure to check that out. We also do have merch available too. So if you don't want to do the monthly support, you can also support us through buying merchandise, such as the Bipolar DM t-shirt and our buttons and our stickers. In today's show, we are going to have Josh on. He is a professional dungeon master and been playing for a few years, and we're looking forward to having a conversation with him. So let's go ahead and bring him on board. Hello, how's it going?
Oh, it's going, Jason. How are you doing?
I am doing great. I've been looking forward to this conversation since our pre-interview.
Yeah, me too.
Let's go ahead and just get started with the very beginning, which is what got you into Dungeons and Dragons in the first place?
Oh, God. My dad.
Oh, right.
My big old nerdy dad back in the 3 and 3.5 days. Third edition had just come out, and I was 10 or 11 maybe. He said, "Hey, I just got these D&D books. Do you want to play? Go grab a couple of your friends, and we'll play D&D." I was like, "Oh, okay, whatever."
Yeah.
And then 6 months later, the 3.5 books came out. I was like, "I'm not buying that shit."
Yeah. Isn't that how
third edition all the way?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how did he get started? Is he an original player, or did he just get involved when the 3.0 game came out?
Oh no, he is. I want to say he bypassed first edition and started playing in AD&D
Okay.
second edition. Um, that's all the only thing I can base that off of is the AD&D books I have on my shelf back here.
Yeah.
Uh, most
Yeah,
of my
that's a
shelf is
totally
covered
different.
in, yeah, most of it's covered in Forgotten Realms stuff with
Yeah.
third edition. Good times.
So now when you got started, when did you what kind of got you hooked into it? I mean, it's one thing, your dad getting you involved in all that, but what was really the hook that got you going with Dungeons and Dragons?
Um, I think for me it was my character.
Hmm.
My very first character was a half dragon ranger, um, and my specific half dragon ranger, because I was 10 or 11, could was a chromatic dragon that could also polymorph into a adult sized dragon.
Oh,
Uh,
sweet.
so yeah, so I've decimated many a room with this guy. When the numbers were against us, I bust out in a big old dragon form, waste them all, and pop back down. It was good times. Needed a quick escape. I'd grab everyone and fly away.
Yeah,
Uh,
that sounds like a
that
hell of a character.
and the Dragonlance books. That was kind of my foray into D&D. I think I read the Dragonlance books. I want to say I read them before I started
Yeah,
playing. I
yeah.
think. Yeah.
That's same with me. I started off with Dragons of Autumn Twilight, and then I found out that it was based on a game,
Yeah.
and that's what got me hooked. Was reading Dragonlance Out Dragons of Autumn Twilight, the very first book of the trilogy, and then from there, jumping into the game was kind of a natural thing.
Yeah. Totally.
So, how did you get started making that leap, though, from just playing to now being a dungeon master? How did you get into being a DM?
Um, well, it was something that I wanted to do for a long time. Like I run games here and there for, friends and you know, family stuff like that. But it didn't really like turn into a whole thing. Um, but I had gotten it in my head that I wanted to write my own adventure, not just run like Tyranny of Dragons or something. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
something that had been done over and over again. So I set out to write a homebrew, and
Yeah.
then in that, doing research for my own homebrew stuff, there was, um, I didn't even know people could get paid to be DMs, and I found a
Yeah.
bunch of paid DMs. And I was like, this is awesome. I would love to do that. That's so cool. Um, so
Yeah.
right when COVID hit, I was like, this is the time to do it. I'd just gotten laid off. I was like, if I'm gonna start a business, it's gonna be now. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
so I set out to do just that. Um, Ran a few adult games, started a kids league, and uh, then it turned into a kids summer camp.
Mm-hmm.
And that was great. And now I've been playing with the same group of kids for over a year now. It's been great.
So, about how many kids are you got in your group right now?
Um, the most we had was 6, and that was just a hellscape.
Yeah, that is a lot.
He's got a dog. I want a dog. I want a dog. No, I want a cat. Just a insanity of children.
What
um,
were the age
but
ranges of these kids?
9 to 14.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
so my low end was 9, and that was my own kid. And then the higher end, I think the oldest kid I had was, I think he just turned 13, just now, um, and he's killing it. Right now, he's playing a blood hunter. Um, uh, we have a dragonborn fighter in the group.
Mm-hmm.
We lost our barbarian and our rogue, unfortunately, They had other commitments that they decided they wanted to partake in. And then my daughter is also playing she's playing a half orc artificer, a battlesmith artificer.
Nice.
I think
So
she's only playing an artificer because I pushed her towards it.
Yeah, get the more complicated characters. So
Yeah.
how did you start this business, the actually getting it going?
A lot of it wasn't me.
Yeah.
A lot of it is my girlfriend. She ran a lot of the behind the scenes stuff.
Okay.
Talking to different park districts, getting ads together. She built my website. Really, the only thing I maintain is the blog on the
Right.
site. And even then, I'm so focused on making maps and writing, I don't have time to make the blog.
Yeah.
So, that falls by the wayside usually. But a lot of it, I have to attribute to her. I said, "Hey, I want to start this," and she said, "Okay, let's do it."
Let's do it. I like that. So, how many games altogether are you running? Just one game, or do you have multiple games going?
Well, we just finished our season, so I usually take a little between like 3 month stretches. I usually take about a 2 or 3 week break to ramp up and make the next story arc and new maps and whatnot. But right now I am only running the one game, just because now I have a full-time job and I got to do that too.
Yeah.
Got to bring home the bacon. I would love to run more. I think I prefer playing with kids to adults almost.
Yeah.
Yeah, they
can
keep
be
you
a
on your
lot more
toes.
fun. Yeah, they do. They do.
It
What's
is.
some
It's
good
a lot of fun.
stories of things going off the rails?
Well, it was immediate. They they climbed on a statue and it teleported them to a different world, like session 2. Gone. And then they were arrested for being suspected of stealing the sword, and they failed all their checks to talk their way out of it. Every check failed. So they staged a prison break, and they got out and started a whole thing, and are now on the verge of being space pirates.
That's
they
so
climbed
cool.
They climbed on some other statues, pissed off a dragon. One of their guys got eaten by that same dragon. Then they made their way south to the town that makes all the airships and stuff. Came on as a crew for one, as more or less security for it. And then they're like, "Oh, can we maybe retrofit this to go fly into space?" And I was like, "Technically, yes." So that's
the classic yes and.
Yeah. So my next 2 weeks are to scrap the entire world that I've built, and now make a dozen new worlds for them to go and wreak havoc on as space pirates.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it should be a lot of fun.
So how does being a pro dungeon master, how does that work? Just for people that don't know what a pro DM does, what is it that you actually do?
It can mean a lot of different things. For me personally, it's I took the time to write the world and create this narrative, not only for myself, but to also go through it and play with players new and old, and go through the whatever story they can twist their way into. I have the world set, and I pretty much making an open sandbox for whatever they
Okay.
want to do. Um, I know a lot of DMs have like a very on the rails experience that they try and pull. Um, the one that I pay my own DM too,
Mm-hmm.
to run Tyranny of Dragons. I'm running Tyranny of Dragons with him, um, and he charges far less than I do,
Mm-hmm.
but he charges less because he decided I run pre-made campaigns. All the maps are already done. The encounters, everything, it's just there. I just have to say,
Yeah.
go here. Here's the world. Go do the thing. Go fight Tiamat eventually. Um,
Right.
whereas crafting a world and making all the different intricacies of it takes significantly more time.
Yes, it
Uh,
does.
yeah, and he, we have conversations about it all the time. Like, I think he's working on a homebrew for himself too, that he'll probably charge a little bit more for, um,
Yeah.
which I would love to play.
Yeah. So,
Getting into it is hard though.
yeah. So, I mean, you got the website set up and you direct your traffic towards that. And so, I mean, how do you pull this game together? I mean, is it just like pulling together a regular game, where you just put it out there and see who bites? Or, I mean, how do you
Yeah,
get customers?
I mean it's more akin to herding cats. Like any
Yeah.
DM knows, herding players. It's just, oh, I have this thing. Oh, I have this thing. Oh, Thursday. I can't do Thursday. That's Critical Role night. It's just,
Yeah.
and it's just a mound of like no ands instead of yes ands, and
Yeah.
it's. But I post up the times and dates of games, um, and I meet with my players usually about a week before the game,
Okay.
um, similar to how we linked up initially. A few days, a week before the game starts. We go through and we build the character if they're not familiar with how to build a character, and um, I point them towards Hero Forge to make a token for themselves so they can connect with their character more.
Okay.
Then send me a screenshot so I can make a token for our for the Foundry maps. Um, Link them to our Discord servers, um, and then into the Foundry game itself. So I run, I call them office hours. It's really
Mm-hmm.
just the time when I'm done with work and I'm just sitting on my computer, not going up,
Yeah.
not going anywhere. um, and it's a chance for players and parents of players for my younger crowd to come and, like if they have questions about the game that we're running, or um, if there's a scheduling conflict, or hey, I want my character to be this instead of this. It's a chance for players to talk with me about what they want to do with their game. Um, uh, but I also leave open in character chats so they can, if we're off to fight a boss, they can plan out their attack if they've already seen the map, or if they if they have downtime, they leave it in the chat like what they want to do, kind of stuff. Like right
Mm-hmm.
now, since we're between sessions, they were offered a permanent residence in one of their towns. Um, uh, so they were offered this home, and at the end of the session, I said, you guys, write down, put on the Discord, have your parents email me whatever the things that you want in the house that are specific to you, like whatever room you want,
Mm-hmm.
anything you want in this house, they'll put in this house. But you need to tell me so I can make the map for it, so you can see how cool it is. Um,
Yeah.
and immediately you could see all their eyes light up and the gears start turning. It was super cool.
I bet it was.
Yeah, it was very fun to see.
So let's talk a little bit about playing with kids. What's your advice on bringing kids on board to Dungeons and Dragons? Let's start with the best version of the game. obviously we got fifth edition out right now, which is the most popular and probably one of the most user friendly of the editions
Oh yeah,
that's been put out there. Do you use fifth edition or
yeah,
you use something?
yeah. We run fifth edition D&D. Um, we make our characters in D&D Beyond.
Okay.
Have, most of it unlocked.
Yeah.
Every 2 months they come out with a new book. It seems, um,
Yeah.
and I'm like, oh, I need that, but I can't justify buying a new book again, so I don't buy a new book.
Yeah, that's the one thing I hate about D&D Beyond is that it's not that you have to buy the book; it's that you buy at full retail price.
Yep.
Is what
Yeah.
sucks about it. I mean, it'd be
I mean,
different.
they have sales once in a while, and sometimes
Yeah,
you get sometimes they send you they email you a coupon code or whatever, and I'm like,
yeah,
okay, well now I can justify it because I saved $4.
yeah. You save
Uh,
tax.
yeah, but essentially, yeah. Um, but we run fifth edition mostly through D&D Beyond. We make
Okay.
all of our characters there. Um, I stage the battles there so I can see how they'll maybe play out.
Hmm.
Uh, at least difficulty wise, and then I'll pour all that over to Foundry, um,
Okay.
and I'll
And then
set
Foundry's
all
your
that up.
virtual tabletop,
Yeah,
correct?
yeah.
Yeah.
We updated from Roll20 finally. We graduated up to Foundry at the probably about 2 months ago. Was when I
Okay.
officially launched it for us. We've been playing on Roll20 up until that point, and instead of making trying to finagle my way through setting up the chat and video through Foundry, we do it through Discord.
Hmm.
More user friendly for a lot of the players.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially now that you can link up your D&D Beyond account to
Yep.
it and stuff like that, which does make it a lot easier. Yeah, the campaigns we've been playing on Discord. We just recently switched over to StreamYard just
Yeah.
because we're using since we're playing with adults, I trust them enough to roll their dice and not lie about it.
Yep.
So we've been playing live on StreamYard. But yeah, we did start off get our start on Discord, which was a great platform. It's a
Yeah.
really great platform to work from.
Yeah, it's great. Really easy to use, which is very nice for, especially when I have to walk players through it.
Yeah.
Like, oh, we maybe got into the voice chat, but we're still in the text chat. I need a parent to help me, and I'm trying to tell their parent how to fix it and get into the chat and everything. And that's always the first 5-10 minutes of a session. Is
Yeah.
trying to make sure herd the cattle onto Discord and make sure they're all in Foundry and it's not crashing for them. And because that's apparently happened more and more with the
Yeah.
new update that came out for them.
So what is some of your advice for playing with kids?
Advice for playing with kids: keep it short, 2 hours
Okay.
tops. Like
Yeah.
maybe like a 10-minute break at the 1 hour mark, because they until they're like 14, 15, they have just no attention span.
Yeah.
um, you hit that like hour 45 mark and you see them start to glaze over unless they're in a fight. Um, it's that, and until they're more familiar with it, choose easy classes:
Mm-hmm.
fighter, ranger, rogue, sorcerer, not wizard, sorcerer.
Yeah.
Sorcerer is way easier to play than wizard.
Now, how is it
Stuff like
a
that.
sorcerer is easier than the wizard?
Well, you don't have to like memorize spells. You don't need to you don't
Mhm.
need all the materials left and right.
Okay.
Every town I go into, I buy all their paper and ink to do my spell book, and it's the tedium that's taken
Hmm.
out of it with sorcerer. And sorcerer has cool spells.
Yeah.
Can you twin a fireball? I don't think so.
All right, we're going to go ahead. We're going to go take a quick break, commercial break, and then we'll pick right back up again, talking a little bit more about playing D&D with kids.
Sure.
Okay. All right, welcome back. For those of you who are just joining us, we're on the line here with Josh Smith, a professional dungeon master. And we're going to be talking a bit about playing Dungeons and Dragons with kids. So you gave us a couple bit of advice on keeping it short, keeping the classes simple. What else can help when you're playing with kids?
Don't give them a sandbox because they won't play in it.
Yeah.
They don't like being forced into stories any more than any other player, than any normal adult player. But just give them a few options.
Yeah.
Oh, this guy needs here's a fetch quest, here's a kill quest, here's a diplomatic quest.
Mm-hmm.
Give them options here and there, and then breadcrumbs and red herrings. They love those. Yeah, I threw one at my players that they just realized that I hit them with. They'd been tasked with recovering a blade for one town. It was like their town's sacred blade. Hasn't been wielded in 1,000 years, kind of blade.
Yeah.
It had been stolen, and they been tasked with taking down, finding whichever member of the cult stole it and grab it and bring it back. However, when they went to the town that creates airships, they stumbled across a blacksmith that made a few weapons for him, and then requested that they find a blade called the Demonic Avenger, and if they brought that back to her, she would give them this sacred weapon, the Violet Heart. That belongs in a different town. And they were like, "Oh, we got to find the sword. We got to find the sword." They ended up finding the Violet Heart with the cult. Just like 2 sessions later, and they were like, "Wait, the lady in the town said she had the sword." Like I'd never thrown a red herring at them before, and they were like, "Hey, wait a minute, she said she had." I'm like, "Not everybody tells the truth in this world. I don't know what to tell you. People lie, man."
Yeah.
Mind blown. It was awesome.
Yeah, I like video games. So yeah, I can actually throw out red herrings and stuff like that. So,
yeah, I enjoyed that one very much.
So yeah, what about other just pro tips as a dungeon master? Like how about like for getting ready, like getting ready and stuff like that?
Make sure your notes are in order. That's like my biggest. That's like my hardest thing to do. I think sometimes is make sure my notes are in order, because sometimes I'll have a map pulled up on the screen, but my notes on the other screen don't match, and I'm like, hold on, guys, I got to find the right one. It doesn't happen too often, but it's happened enough for me to say notes need to be in order.
Yeah.
It's what like snap rubber band on the wrist kind of things.
Mm-hmm.
You just like it's just something that I got to remember. I think my biggest thing is when I build a world, I make the world, I make the map for the world first, and then I populate the cities and towns.
Okay.
And when I populate the cities and towns, I make separate like Google Doc things for it for each town. What the population is like, who runs the town, some important people, some shops. What's going on in this town at this time when the players will show up. Maybe do they have holidays? Do they stuff like that? Just general information about the town.
Okay.
Some clues here and there that they might be able to find about whatever story arc they're on. Sometimes they ask about trade things. Doesn't come up too often with kids.
Yeah.
So sometimes with kids, less is more. A lot of times with them,
Totally see that. Totally see
like
that. Yeah.
there's a town. There's a lot of buildings, but only 4 are important. Focus on the 4 important buildings. They'll ooh and ah at the map, and they'll wander around, and they'll ask about a few different places that aren't the specific places that you made, and that's that's where having prepared notes comes in handy. Maybe they bump into an important NPC coming out of one of the houses, and that's now their house. But it's not like it's very different than playing with adult players.
Right.
You don't. They like to fight. They usually like to dungeon crawl. They're not so hung up on storylines.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you can find a way to get them really, really involved, which is kind of hit or miss for me. Sometimes they're super into it, and other times they're just like, I just want to hit stuff, or just want to stick it with the pointy end. That's it.
Yeah.
And so sometimes you roll with the punches, and this town has a fight club now. Go fight stuff. There's a young dragon, rampaging through the countryside. Go kill it. Oh, there's a Hydra. Go on, Hercules, take it out.
Yeah.
Sometimes they really like fetch quests for some reason. Nobody likes fetch quests.
Yeah.
But sometimes they cling to it because a fetch quest usually involves a dungeon and a boss fight, and they like boss fights, especially when the bosses have layer actions, and they're like, "Oh man, it keeps us on our toes and makes us pay attention more."
Yeah, I noticed that with my own kids when I had my kids' game going. What we did, we used dungeon tiles, and the kids would set up the dungeon, and then I'd populate it, and we just do a classic dungeon crawl, and just murder hobo the whole thing, and the kids loved it.
They love it. It's amazing.
And it's like the same thing over and over again every week. We just kept doing, they just made a different dungeon, but it was, no storylines or anything like that.
Yeah. A lot of, until they get like actually into it and maybe a little desensitized to the violence that can happen in D&D.
Mm-hmm.
I try to avoid like actual animals like wolves and dogs and stuff as enemies, and anything humanoid.
Okay.
So they fight a lot of spiders. Most of them understand that goblins are usually bad. So goblins are okay. Werewolves are kind of a gray area. They know that werewolves are bad.
Yeah.
they'll fight the werewolves, but if you throw wolves at them, they will automatically try and befriend them.
Yeah.
And it works about half the time, and then they have wolf companions for the rest of the time. uh, that's always interesting. They usually challenge them to, well, what does your wolf eat? He needs water. How are you going to get him up this hill? I throw the little challenges at them to see if they can kind of think it out. And then when they do, I just kind of drop that mechanic. It's just kind of it kind of becomes a moot point. Like, oh, your character understands how to do these things for his companion. Have fun.
Yeah.
Your dog goes on your initiative, right after you, and that's that. He is your friend.
Yeah.
We love that. But if you throw wolves at them, they will befriend them. It's just a fact of nature.
Yeah, we did a lot of undead, a lot of zombies, skeletons, stuff like that.
Yeah, stuff like that is fine. But with stuff that's like obviously like this is a bad thing. Usually they'll avoid fighting like humans and elves and stuff, even if the humans and elves are attacking them. We'll try and use diplomacy to get out of it, which is totally fine, and I very much encourage it. I try and make those more diplomatic encounters than physical altercations, and they seem to like that.
That's a good life lesson too.
Yeah. Not everything needs to end in a throwdown. Sometimes you can solve your problems with words, kids.
Yeah, that's a great life lesson for Dungeons and Dragons right there, is to talk your way out of a situation.
Yep. Until you have a trigger-happy gunslinging fighter who just shoots anything that moves. And then that just kind of derails everything anyways.
Yeah.
Unless the party throws him under the bus, which has happened once or twice. It wasn't us, it was him. Take him, leave us alone. And they usually take him. And then it's a prison break again. Which they also love. They skill challenges. I do a lot of festivals when they go through towns. I usually have I usually kind of base the skill challenges around the skills of the party. So if they have a fighter, I'll do like boxing, or if they have a rogue or a ranger, it'll be like an obstacle course kind of thing.
Okay.
Barbarian, sometimes just to throw off the barbarians, instead of having like a arm wrestling thing, I will throw a pie eating contest at them.
Oh yeah.
And you got that high con, you're going to use it.
Yeah, do those constitution saving throws versus throwing up. Yeah.
Yep. All day, and pie eating contests are always a big hit. Everybody does them.
That's pretty cool. Actually, coming up with some extra stuff that's not quite standard D&D. That's what I like about it.
Yeah. I like to try and mix it up for them a little bit. That's not like, oh, go here, fight this dude, talk to this guy, get the thing, bring it back, go fight this other thing, do the thing. It's having a broader spectrum of tasks for them to do. It not only keeps them in one place for a little bit longer until they go off the rails again.
Yeah.
It helps them to connect with the town that they're in, and sometimes they connect with like NPCs and things like that. One time I ran a festival, and I don't really have anything for our sorcerer. So I had a future version of them travel back in time and set up a tent and talk with the player about their future, and where they were going to end up, and things that they would do and how heroic they would be in the end, and stuff like that. And it really, like, you could see, like, even in a camera, like, you could see it really resonated with her, and that was that was a really special moment.
That's pretty cool. You do more than just typical Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah,
Excuse me.
Sudai.
Where you're coming up with things out of left field and doing things that are not normal, hack and slash and stuff like that. That's what I
Yeah,
love about this game, especially when you're playing with kids. The the breadth and of the game and all the things that you can do and come up with. I mean, it's just limited by the imagination of you and the kids, and kids can come up with some pretty off the wall stuff.
oh man, all day, all day. These kids, they like to um, they like to pull fluffernutters, and you know
Mhm.
the only one who ever has watched Critical Role, I'm pretty sure, is my kid.
Yeah,
There's always another kid that comes up with let's get a keg of black powder and throw a torch at it and see what happens.
yeah,
Okay, I tell you what happens. It's gonna be awesome. um, can,
yeah.
can
Holly
we can
said,
we fashion a giant spring to launch someone? Sure, you can certainly try.
yeah,
Uh,
those are my favorite words. You can certainly try.
yeah, and they more often than not, the dice are in their favor for the dumb stuff they want to do. And I'm like, okay, that's you know what? That's probably my biggest my biggest pro tip for playing with kids is forget the rules. They want to do something cool, and the dice are in their favor. Just let them. It's going to be so
Yeah.
much more memorable for them.
Yes,
And
the rule
that's
of cool.
yeah, oh yeah, the rule of cool for sure. And it's something that's going to resonate with them and keep them more into the game longer. Um,
Hmm.
so sometimes you can even run that out to maybe a 3 hour window. Sometimes you'll get a kid who's like, can we just keep playing?
Yeah,
They're in it. They're in the moment. They're like, I want to play more now. I don't want to wait a week. I want to play now. And sometimes I'm like, yeah, sure, we can play. We play another like half hour. Usually
yeah,
it's another half hour.
yeah. Especially when you got something really good going on too,
Yeah,
like middle
yeah.
of a boss fight or something like that.
Oh yeah, I hate dipping out in the middle of a boss fight. If we're coming up to a boss fight and we have like 10 minutes left, we're not starting that boss fight. uh,
Yeah.
we'll maybe we'll level. I'm kind of willy nilly with the levels here and there.
Hmm.
If they finish a story arc, level. If they get to a place that they've been trying to get to for 3 sessions now, level. If
Hmm.
they stuff like that, and like while we as DMs and players alike love to level because that's when you start getting all the cool stuff.
Yeah.
Once you hit that like level 10 barrier, you bust through that. That's when you start getting all the really cool stuff for your class. Um, that's when they start getting all the really cool stuff for their class, and it
Yeah.
you can watch them pick their new feats and their spells, and oh, do I want a multi-class now? Do I what do I want to do with my character? And it's of that last 10 minutes but going into a boss fight, if we decide to level, we'll spend the next 10 minutes talking about the different things that you can do with your character. uh,
Hmm.
I always have them at, instead of rolling for hit points, um, I have my adult players roll for hit points like a normal person.
Yeah.
But for the kids, it's always the maximum health you can possibly have.
Yeah.
You know, like the maximum you can roll plus your con plus your whatever feat bonuses you have. That's your maximum hit points. You have 300 hit points by the time you hit level 20. You have 300 hit points. Cool.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. That's the one thing I always liked about I always did with my kids is I didn't like them squishy. I usually start
yeah,
them off out at first level, like third level, and
yeah,
then max hit points. Just so that they're not so squishy.
yeah. So they can, it's not like, oh no, we fought 4 goblins. We're all gonna die.
Yeah.
It's not every fight up to third level is life or death. But once you get past that, it's kind of you can breathe a little bit easier. You can take some hits, especially when you have those max hit points. It's very helpful for them.
And also the different monsters that they can get exposed to
Yeah.
instead of just the same ones over and over again.
Yeah.
So you're actually able to give them more. You know,
and then instead of like the same 4 bandit types, now you can dip into, oh, this one is a youngling vampire, or oh, here's some lycanthropes. You can hit them with some heavier stuff at lower levels if they have the hit points for it.
Mm-hmm. And it makes for a more interesting game though too, especially because it gives you more breadth and stuff like that.
Give them a vehicle. Give them a skyship, a boat. There's motorcycles in Avernus. Give them one of those. Stuff like that. You give them something cool, that's gonna resonate with them. Like my guys, they have an airship. That airship is equipped with a magic cannon on the front end, and it's got harpoons on the sides that they've taken out many a wyvern with. Wyvern and rider alike they've taken out with. And when they make that hit, it's a big hit, and they're all about it. I want to shoot that harpoon right at it. Make the sound effect too. Have to.
Yeah.
And they roll it, they hit it, and that thing goes down with its rider. Bye.
Yeah. Bye.
Do double max damage for criticals.
Mm-hmm.
So if you roll that nat 20, you get to do double the max damage your dice can do, plus your bonuses times 2.
Nice.
So
that's a hit.
Yeah, nobody wants to get a critical hit and do 7 points of damage.
Yeah,
you want to do you want to hit that thing, and you want to hit it hard. You want to, I hit that thing with a natural 20. That's 30 points of damage. That's awesome.
That is pretty awesome. I like that.
Yeah, and that's the those are the moments that you see all their eyes light up. They're like, yeah, I hit it. I got that natural 20, and that thing dropped. It's headless, it's torso-less, it's missing an arm maybe. That thing's gone. And as they get older, you can get a little more gritty with the details.
Yeah.
Back when we first started playing, when I was still trying to see what worked and what didn't work for the kids, you kind of, especially with younger kids, you lose the ability to be like, oh, you cut his arm off, and there's just this big Monty Python style blood splurt. That's just continuing to go, because that's D&D.
Yeah.
But you miss that when you have younger kids. But as you get to connect with kids more and more, you kind of are like, okay, I understand that this is okay for this kid to hear and understand. It's probably not going to give them a nightmare for the next 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So you can, you bisected this guy, shoulder to hip, and he kind of slips.
Yeah.
And makes a gross sound when he hits the ground, and they're like, yeah, they love that. They start getting a little gross.
Yeah, I found that was the same with my kids too when I was playing with them, that they started getting into the blood and guts and like it gory and stuff like that. So
we're really lucky with Foundry too, because Foundry has special effects now. They have a blood and guts modification for it. So when you start doing damage to a creature, you see a little blood splurt, and as that creature moves around, it leaves a trail of blood behind them. And when they go down, there's this like kind of this blood explosion. I don't think there's a sound effect with it, but I could just have that turned off on my end.
Yeah.
There's some of them use fireballs and smoke grenades. There's effects for those too, and they any chance they get to see that effect hit the board, that blows the lid off the place. They're
Yeah.
all about it. Oh, it's so cool! I want to do a lightning bolt, Bzzz. And they see it, appear 60-foot range on it. And they fought a dragon that sprayed acid at them, and that acid shot from the dragon to the other side of the map, and they all got hit by it, but they all didn't care because the effect was cool.
Yeah, that's probably one of the few virtual tabletops that I haven't played yet is Foundry. I've played Roll20. I've played what's the other one that's out right now?
There's Fantasy Grounds.
Fantasy Grounds. Yeah, I played Fantasy Grounds, but I haven't played Foundry yet, just because. Is it very expensive getting in the door as far as maps, tokens, stuff like that?
It's very open source. So some of the mods are Patreon based.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to subscribe to this person's Patreon to get the full effect of their modification for it.
Okay.
But Foundry itself is it's a one-time license fee, and you just get it, and it everything pretty much just works. It takes a little bit of finagling to get players in, and if you set up your own server through it, that takes some doing.
Mm-hmm.
So I just kind of bypassed it and said, I'm just going to do Discord.
Yeah.
Instead of paying for a server and all that, I'm just going to do Discord. Totally fine. And then I run instead of running the games through a hosting server, I run it through my own computer right here.
Yeah.
And so all the players just link right into my computer every week. And that's how they get their characters. And usually when we level in D&D Beyond, because leveling in Foundry is a nightmare.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we level in D&D Beyond, and then before each session, I'll port the newly leveled characters back into Foundry, and make sure that they're linked with the right tokens and login information and stuff like that. And then we just play. They get to create their own dice in there, and every week someone's got new dice. Like, oh, I just found this color combination, and doesn't it look cool in metal? And you can pick the dice up and shake them around the screen a little bit, and they play with that endlessly, which is so much better than drawing on the map like they do in Roll20.
Yeah.
They like to write, hi, how's it going? And I'm going this way. For some reason I'm writing it on the map. I'm the only one that can actually see what they're writing. They're kids are interesting to play with, and it's always very fun, and I enjoy the hell out of it.
Yeah, I mean, I did too. I love playing with kids. What now? You play with your daughter.
Mm-hmm.
Before we tie this up, let's just go ahead and go a little bit into that. How was it like playing with your own kids versus somebody else's kids?
Well, I know what my kids like.
Yeah.
So some of that is a little bit easier. It is easier to DM for my own kid than it is to DM for other kids. My daughter plays in her weekly game with us, but my son is too young to really play D&D, so we play that the Adventure Begins board game with him. Loves that. Asks me every day can we play that D&D board game, Dad? Can we play it today?
Get them started young.
Yeah, definitely. They all they need is a D20, and that's the whole game. There's like 2 attacks on there, and you declare your attack, roll the dice, and that's that. You move on to fight the next thing and deal with the next thing, and he loves it. We try and play it more than we should probably.
Yeah.
It gets a little predictable after a while.
Yeah.
As an adult, and for my daughter who's a player, and she's like, okay, I kind of know what I'm doing now.
Yeah.
But for my daughter specifically, it's I like to think that it's brought us closer together.
Mm-hmm.
She's 11 going on 15.
Yeah. Know how that is.
Got that attitude and everything, but she will still sit down every week and play D&D and love it every time.
That's awesome.
And it's really our like point in the week where it's we get time to sit down in the basement next to each other and just kind of just connect and enjoy our company.
Yeah,
it's a good time.
Well, it was great having you on, Josh. It was awesome talking with you, and we're going to go ahead and put you in the back room for just a second and then tie this up.
Sure.
But thank you again for coming on and talking with us about being a professional dungeon master.
Yeah. NYMB.online.
Yes. Go ahead. Plug your site in.
Yeah. I'm on Facebook as Not Your Mother's Basement Gaming, and or NYMBG.
Okay.
If you want to look for me that way. On the internet itself, we are NYMB.online. We're open all the time.
Sweet. All right. Well, thanks again, and we'll go ahead and put you in the back.
Thanks.
Okay. Thank you so much for tuning in. Appreciate everyone that has been showing up and watching. And for those of you who are not watching live, you can catch us live on Saturdays, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This is the Bipolar DM show, and we're about Dungeons and Dragons, indie writing, and living with the mental illness. You can also watch us live not only on Facebook at Bipolar DM, but also on Twitch TV. So it's twitch.tv/Bipolar the Bipolar DM as where you can find us there. And also, if you just do a search on YouTube, if you just do a YouTube search for the Bipolar DM or the Bipolar DM show, we don't have enough followers yet for our own channel yet, but we're working on that. So be sure to subscribe and jump on board with that. And we'll go ahead and close this up real quick.
Rochester Winter Parafest is back, March 25th, 26th, and 27th of 2022. Come say hi to Naked and Afraid celebrities Melanie Elizabeth and Trent Nielsen, Haunted Case Files Jack Kenna, Monster Quest Steve Coles, and more. This event has it all: paranormal investigators, UFO researchers, Bigfoot researchers, and even photo opportunities for the kids with Buddy the Bigfoot. Oh, okay, adults too. Come on down and get a tattoo from Ink Master Tony DeVille. There are psychic gallery and individual readings, as well as radio personalities, authors, jewelry, makeup artists, and so much more. It's only $15 per person, and children under 10 are free. March 25th, 26th, and 27th of 2022. For more information, go to WLFE-DB.com. Yes, Winter Parafest is back. Valley Oak Event Center, Geneseo, New York, next to Denny's. Thank you for listening to the Bipolar DM. They love sharing thoughts and ideas. See you next week, 7 p.m. Saturdays on WLFE-DB.com, where our shows are your shows, and that makes for great talk radio. WLFE Digital Broadcast Network is on TV. You can watch all of our shows on WLFE-DB.com. Check out our channels: Paranormal View for all of your paranormal type shows, LGBTQ friends for all of our LGBTQ shows. Variety Unlimited for all other shows. It runs 24/7 right on WLFE-TV.com. You'll even catch the lives, all in one place. Never miss an episode, past or future. WLFE-DB.com, where our shows are your shows.